Hello, I am Nick Boris, and I am the owner of Define Life. This is Defining Life, the podcast broadcast that talks about the human condition and all of the crap that goes on with it. And in my life, I am dedicated to defining my life into what I want it to be, like molding it into what it to be. I want to be defined. So every day I'm using the Define My Day planner to get to that place. Today, the topic we're discussing is going to be ethics. Ethics at home, ethics at work. How do we handle ethical situations, and how do you really how do you even define what your ethics are? So we're going to talk about that today. But first off, if you're watching this, um, I'm part of being ethical and maybe is being authentic. I have this pimple on my cheek or neck here, my jawline, and I'm seriously embarrassed about it. I just ran all over the place trying to find like concealer or something. I used to have this makeup or moisturizer that I when we would do videos back at my old office for our IT business. My eyes in the winter when I start to lose my tan, I start to look green under harsh lighting, like around my cheeks and stuff. And so I would have to use this. It's like a tinted moisturizer or something. It's basically makeup, right? Like everybody made fun of me for it, but that's the only way I could look normal, not like an alien on screen. And so I was running around right now looking for it, and I can't find it. It's a couple of years old. Who knows if it even works? It might make it worse. I don't even know. But I couldn't find it, so you're getting me authentically blemished. But I appreciate you being here. The reason I'm so messed up right now in my complexion is because I needed to break the sugar habit. I mean, coming out of the holiday season this past fall, I was eating a lot of carbs and sugar and bad food, and my physique is showing it. But the other place that it's showing it now that I was kind of I guess all my everything got out of whack. My hormones got out of whack because I cut out sugar for an entire week last week, just trying to cleanse myself of that addiction, and it worked, but man, it came out on my face. It was bad. I looked like a teenager. And so, yeah, I'm dealing with that. If I'm sniffling here a little bit, we're dealing with some colds in this house too. And so I apologize for any sniffling you might hear too. But so yeah, I'm trying to getting back into the gym. Although I never really left the gym, I just wasn't going the 5 or 6 times a week that I try to. Um, and that's always a struggle to try to get there. And this time of year, there's so many people in there now. It's going to be nice when it clears out again. But trying to work out, get back in shape, get a little bit more comfortable in my own skin in that regard. So we're working on that. My boy just had his 6th birthday this week. And talk about like being authentic and making time for your kids and feeling good about how you raise your kids. One of the struggles that I had this past couple of weeks is, coming out of a busy holiday season for us. We were just overwhelmed and exhausted. And this poor kid, his birthday's in the middle of January, and we had no plans for his birthday. And it was, I felt so bad about it, and we talked about it, but we just didn't really have our crap together at home to plan anything good for him. So, I rationalize it myself by saying that we are really good to him every day, you know? And so, like the little things that I try to do every day, like, when I wake him up at 7:30 in the morning, I jump in the bed with him and give him a little noogie or like a raspberry or like whatever. And, sometimes we play a little game where we're like hiding from a monster under the blanket. And so there's that, and there's, hanging out with him at the bus stop and joking around and all the things we do together. I try to rationalize that is better than like just one big moment, right? And I believe that's true because I had big moments as a kid, but I feel like I needed more small moments. So I'm hoping there's that, but I also don't want to take anything away from him by having a big planned out birthday party. in the end, I think we recovered. We took him to Dave and Buster's in the afternoon. He'd been wanting to go there. We didn't even honestly we didn't even buy a gift for him ahead of time. We actually went to Target on the way home from Dave and Buster's, and let him pick out his own gift within a budget. And in reality, I don't think he knows. He doesn't know any better. He had a great time. In fact, on the way home, until he found out he had to go to bed by the time we got home, it was the best day ever. And that meant a lot to me at the time, right? Because I felt like, whew, I got away with one. But I know, like, I know we're doing well every day. But I still like, I have such a thing about, trying to be the best parent I can. And that doesn't, it's not all about giving your kids things. I mean, it's discipline, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But it's all the things, and in trying to run a business, especially with my wife and I both in the business, it's really hard. It is really hard. In fact, we hired an assistant for us a couple of months ago. And her first week here, she's like, I can't believe you guys are doing all of this. And in our planning we did last week, we threw everything on a board that needs to get done. And it is a list that is ridiculously long. And trying to filter through that and figure out where our priorities lie and who's going to do what. It's a big job. I mean, 2020 is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. And things are work, including work. But I mean, it can be overwhelming. So filtering through, doing the right things, making sure you're putting your energy in the right place. It's kind of what Define My Day is all about, right? So we need to make sure we're doing it too. That's part of being authentic in our lives and ethical, right? So we have to do kind of like drink our own Kool-Aid, or walk the walk, all that kind of stuff, whatever the saying is. So we do what we need to do, and it sometimes I think can hurt our kids, but I think in the long run we always have our kids in mind as to why we're doing what we're doing, why we're investing our time where we're investing it. And I think we spend quite a bit of time with our kids at this point. I can tell you, if you watched the previous episode when I talked about what life was like 5 or 6 years ago, I was certainly not spending enough time with my boy. We only had one at that point in time, and I was not giving him the attention he needed. Thankfully, he was going to a very good preschool where he got good interaction with other kids and teachers, talented teachers. But when he got home, I don't think he was getting from me what he should have received. So that's part of the reason that I've done what I've done to change my life, to do, to focus where I am right now, to work out of my house rather than in the office, so that, when he walks in the door and he says, Dad, I need something, it's not always, sure, I can help you out, because sometimes there's got to be boundaries. Like, my door's closed, let me go unless it's an emergency. And then other times, if I have to ask you, to wait for a little while, then we have to let it wait. But there are other times when I've been working for a long time, maybe working late, and he walks in and stands right there and he's like, hey, I need you, right? Maybe he doesn't say that, but I can see it. He needs me. And it's that time when I need to decide to turn to him and give him the attention he needs. And, the ability to be able to do that, to be in a situation where I can do that, is incredibly important for me. So, yeah, I like where our lives are going, and it all comes from connecting our daily actions to where we want to go in life. And for me, that's one of the big things for me is family, and making sure I raise good boys. The thing that makes the work worthwhile is, the other purpose that I have for myself is helping other people not end up where I ended up, on the precipice of a disaster. And, I don't want anybody to reach the end of their life and look back with regret that, they didn't do what they needed to do with their time or life and energy and love. Like, nobody should have to live like that. Like we shouldn't be slaving away, for nothing, for some promise of something that maybe we'll never get, or from unrealistic expectations, or just some disillusion, bad habits and disillusion, that life is somehow going to get better magically when we're going in the complete opposite direction. So, for me, it's about helping you or anybody else connect, where they want to go to the daily steps and daily actions that they're taking today. And, I don't get it perfect. I'm not perfect every day. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, which I am going to be right now, I haven't opened Define My Day for 3 days. I took a break. Now I still have the process in my head. I still plan out my day on my calendar, using sort of the same priority focus. But I got to tell you, like I'm not perfect. I don't do everything perfect. If I were perfect, I would be in impeccable health. I would be ultimately defined waking up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day. I'd have the perfect response for everybody that ever pisses me off. I'd have the perfect response for my kids. I would, like we would all, I mean, that's just not reality. It's not reality. I mean, I make as many mistakes as you do, sometimes more, right? Like anybody that tells you or puts off that aura that they are perfect, the perfect follower of whoever, the perfect, business person, the perfect, whatever, they're not. They're not. And I found it, as I've gotten to know more and more business leaders, CEOs, small business owners, community leaders, the more I come in contact with people like that, the more I realize that we're all flawed in some way. And we all have insecurities. It's the people that can get past those insecurities, that, sometimes it's luck, but a lot of times it's just the people that can get past those insecurities and fight on regardless of whatever they're feeling insecure about. And, it's many times I've sat having a beer with a business owner and he's talked about the same things that I'm thinking about in my mind. And I think, man, this guy seems so much further ahead than me. But he's not. He's not. And we all have that experience because, when I was having a kid at 30, whatever, whenever, how old I was when I had my first child, I thought, how can I be having a child? I feel like a kid myself. I feel like a kid myself. So, anybody that puts it out there that they are, 100% perfect in any area, a red flag goes up for me immediately. And, that is a conversation we have here and a conversation that I've had with people outside of this business as far as how I go about defining my day, that I need to be a leader in this community. But I think for me, if I'm going to do it, I need to be honest about where I am, right? I have my own struggles. I need support in my own ways. And I can't look for support from the community in a lot of things. But I do need to relate that, while I may be ahead in this process, I am certainly not perfect, right? Like I know the process and I know information that maybe you guys don't know, but in no way am I somebody to say, I've got it all figured out. Because the more I figure out, the more I realize I have more things that I haven't figured out. And I think the most authentic business leaders will say that. I'll reference Ed Milet's the first guy that comes to mind. He's a guy that's well off, right? But when you watch him and when you see him interview people, it's not that he's not like doesn't have it all figured out. In fact, it looks like he's trying to get more information from the person he's talking to on their subject so he can improve himself, right? So he can learn something, so he can figure out something in his life. Donald Miller, I've referenced him in the last episode here, is the same guy. Like his interviews, he's basically saying, "Hey, look, I'm just getting free consulting, and I'm putting it out on a podcast." That nobody is perfect. We have one thing figured out more than you, and maybe you have something else figured out more than me. And I think that's part of being ethical, especially ethical in business. I think we have to realize that. As a business person, we can't put ourselves out there as perfect because really perceptive people are going to see that and the alarm bells are going to go off. And that situation's happened to me. I mean, I've watched people and I've thought to myself, yeah, something seems wrong here. And in the end, you find out, yeah, that this person, is dishonest or has cheated in some way, and maybe has business practices that I don't like, or that I wouldn't personally do, that don't follow my own guidelines. And I'm certainly not perfect, but I think it's important for people just to be honest and ethical and authentic, right? So at home with us, it's about like understanding what our personal values are. And I even think we could do a better job here, if I'm going to be completely honest. I've seen other people out there in podcasts or on YouTube. They talk about how like their family values are on their wall. I don't think that's a great idea. It's an amazing idea. Like, why wouldn't you walk in the door and have your family values on the wall for your family to see every day? We do it in businesses where they have like the mission values on the wall. Um, I think sometimes it's just important to see every day, and you can, and when your brain's absorbing that every moment it just sort of gets in there. It's almost like an affirmation, right? It's almost like every day when you see, like if you were to see "We are kind" every day, if your kids walk out the door and see on the wall "We are kind," maybe with one of those stickers or something, right? What are the chances, you think, when your kid goes to school, that in a situation, he or she has a choice, and maybe that flashes in their mind, "I'm kind. Like, our family value is that we are kind." So then they make the right decision, right? And I think raising kids is where those values for me have really been defined. We had an issue, and I've always told my son, if as and I come from the perspective as somebody that was bullied most of my life, and one day maybe we can explore like how I put myself in that position. I was an easy target, and so I needed someone to stick up for me, and it really never happened. Um, so when raising my kids, I think we're putting them on a more solid foundation as far as confidence is concerned. That my older one never has felt like he needs to be the best. He's never felt like he needs to be the most popular. He's incredibly smart. He's incredibly athletic, and our message to him has always been that growth mindset. Whatever you want to do, as long as you work hard at it, you can accomplish it. And so while certain things come easy, there are certain hard things. He's always like on the soccer field, he's always used his ability, his athletic ability and hustle to out hustle everybody. But then as he's gotten older, he's 9.5 now, people with skills that practice are getting better. So the decision he's had to make, which he actually decided to not play soccer anymore, the decision he's had to make is, do I start to practice and actually get better? Or do I just be mediocre and just the hustler, but that doesn't have the skills? He chose to not go that direction. Now, he does want to play football. So the conversation, as he plays football, whether it's flag or tackle, is, how do I get better? What do I need to do to get into shape? What do I need to do to get better skills? And that's the conversation that we have here. The other thing, going back to the ethics in school and the bullying, is that, we've always told them, stick up for your friends and don't let anybody be picked on or put down in your presence, right? Stick up for the little guys, stick up for the weak ones. And it hits home for me. It really does. It hits home for me. And we had a problem with a kid on the bus. So one of Nicholas's teammates on his football team was being picked on the bus, and we told Nicholas, we'll tell the bus driver, but and Nicholas, to his credit, said that he, told the kid to stop, the one that was doing the bullying, and maybe he stopped, maybe he didn't at that point in time. It's been a while, so I can't remember specifically, but I think somebody else already told the bus driver, and I think the bus driver made sure it stopped. And I told him we would talk to the bus driver next opportunity we got, and we did. But I also told him that if it happens again, that he needs to do something about it. That, like he can't sit back and watch somebody be bullied. And I said, if you can get a friend to help, fine. But no matter what, I want you to tell the kid to stop. And if he doesn't stop, you pull him off of the other kid. And, his question to me, his statement to me was, well, what if he doesn't stop at that point? And I said, well, at that point, he is going to stop and he's going to turn toward you. I said, and you have to decide what you're going to do at that point. And we talk through what happens if the kid attacks him or whatever. But, I think it's, I don't want my kid to be a fighter. I don't want him to start fights. But for me, it's really important that he doesn't let somebody else be victimized in his presence. And I think for me, that's an ethical choice, a really strong ethical choice for me. And it's something that I need him to have ingrained in his mind as he gets older, that like, I won't stand for somebody else being picked on or bullied. So that's important to us. And we've even told him, look, you're going to get in trouble in school. If you get into a fight, if you're sticking up for somebody else, you're probably still going to get in trouble, because they have almost a zero tolerance policy on this, right? And that's okay. Like, as long as you don't start it, as long as you are in the right, and you are sticking up for yourself or someone else, you're not going to get in trouble here. You can get in trouble at school. You might have detention. You might have some other consequence, and you might not like it, but it's better than letting somebody else suffer. And that I don't want to have happen, and I don't want to ever hear that happened. So, that's our one of our family ethics. And, is that something that goes on the wall? Help others? Maybe. And I think that's something that, it's funny because it's something that I've thought about and not really discussed with my wife yet, but it's going to be one of those things that, like, how do we, we're looking for, moving into a new house sometime in the near future. That's probably going to be one of the things that goes in our family room, maybe our family values. And we probably even need to flesh them out a little bit more so we can really, make sure they're solid there. So, it's hard. It's hard. Like, anymore, like, people want to be politically correct, and a lot of times, especially in the society the way it stands right now, being in the middle is hard, because you have people on the left and the right where if you are the opposite direction, even in the slightest way, you get categorized as the opposite. So if you're say moderate Republican, and you say that, if you're not extreme right, then they automatically categorize you as a Hillary lover or an Obama lover, right? In the same way, if you're a moderate liberal or a moderate Democrat, and you say, anything like not to that politically correct extreme, then, you're automatically categorized as, someone that, I don't know, hates the poor, or is racist or whatever, right? And I guess if you are a racist, you're a racist. I don't want to confuse that. But it's just like, if you're not extreme, then, it's hard to be in the middle, because you're being attacked from both sides. And as somebody in the middle, I mean, I've been in the middle my entire life. Actually, no, that's not true. I was probably more right for a while, but I've moved towards the middle. It's hard. It's hard because if you don't jump on board the Trump train, it's you don't like. I mean, and honestly, look, I mean, I personally believe he's done some good. I think there's a lot of other things that we can discuss if I wanted to get into it. But if I disagree with a statement or anything, all of the Trump supporters come out and, oh, you'd rather have Hillary in office. Maybe not necessarily. I don't. Maybe. But can we at least talk about it? Can we discuss like this thing or this thing? And it's hard. It's hard to have like a rational, ethical conversation. And I got to be honest. I think that there are some unethical things that have come up. And I'm not quite comfortable with it, but you can't have the conversation. The conversation isn't. It's just not possible. and it's frustrating. It is really, really frustrating. So I really think, I mean, I'd like to see this country get back to a place where we can at least converse. I know politics has always been an off limits thing, and maybe there was a reason for that. Maybe it was always this way, and it was better hidden because it didn't fester so much. I have no idea. But I guess now that everybody can say what they want, such hate and vitriol develops that um, you know there's just no compromise anymore. I mean, I think it was in one of Simon Sinek's books where he talks about how you know senators and House representatives would fight on the floor, but then get together for dinner that evening and hash out whatever topics they had, whatever disagreements they had, and then they would come back with a resolution. And I feel like now, I mean, we're not even close to that. I mean, can you imagine some of these people getting together and trying to hash out something? Um, Ellen DeGeneres is seen in the vicinity of George Bush, and now everybody's calling her a bunch of names. Um, and I think there's so much gray area and nuance in life in general. Um, we even compromise our values and ethics just to support that extreme right or left or whatever position we're on, and we end up compromising those values, right? We just because we so vehemently want to support the side we have, we will we will blind ourselves to the real ramification of what we're talking about. Um, and it's that struggle. It's that constantly trying to evaluate, like being empathetic for somebody else, even if we feel that their values aren't the same as ours. Um, Understanding that nobody is 100% evil or 100% good. There's just like that. There's so much judgment, and there's so much going on. It's hard in this environment to be someone that um, is pragmatic, I guess would be the right word. And I think what happens is the really good leaders that would probably do best for our country, or really any business, don't take on those roles because they don't want to have to put up with the sniping and all of the negativity. You know, um, even being a kid's athletic coach, it's a hard place to be because everybody thinks their kid's the best, and there's things from the organization, there's things from the parents, there's things from all different directions, and so the best coaches, in a lot of times, I would say the best people that would volunteer for these positions don't take them because they don't want to put up with all of the other stuff, because nobody has any kind of forgiveness or restraint or understanding. It's just this, blah, it's craziness. It's craziness. I'm speaking from experience there, believe me. But it extends into the business world. The one phrase I've hated ever since I opened my first business was, "It's not personal, it's just business." And I mean, I'm a person, right? Right? I'm a person. I have a family. I'm working hard. It's no different than if you were to insult me to my face, on the street, not in a business situation. But it's not personal, it's just business is one of those saying. I hate that saying. I hate it. Um, God, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. People use that saying to get over on paying a bill, to cheat, to lie, to steal. It's just business. No, it's never just business. People's lives depend on this. I have a client that actually stole from his employees, and he owes us a considerable amount of money that he'll never end up paying. And he stole his clients' medical payments. The money they garnish out of their paychecks. He stole what else? 401k deductions from their paychecks, right? He just never paid. He never paid it out. He pocketed the money. And somewhere in his mind, I am sure he's rationalizing it as being okay. It's just business. It was part of the business. The business didn't survive anyway. I took a loss. They have to take a loss too, right? Like they have some sort of ownership in this. Like they would have taken the profits had the business done really well. No, because I guarantee they would have just been paid what they were paid, right? Crazy. It's crazy how people in business can rationalize the shit they do. It's ridiculous, ridiculous. And I've seen it in this business already. I mean, we've been around for almost 2 years now, and we see people sniping at us, and they say, like Grant Cardone says, I believe it's him that says, like, when you start getting haters, that's when you know you're starting to get successful. So we try to look at that, and I just talked about this with my wife, and she said it, right, not even going back to the Cardone reference, but she said, like, look, people are attacking you because they see you as a threat, because you're getting better, right? Your product is getting out there more and more people are buying it. You're getting a positive response. So, yeah, you can try to think positively about that. But in reality, when you see some of the things that people are doing, like literally like taking words off of our website or off of our marketing material, off of our product, and reappropriating it for themselves and just changing one word, and then coming back on us and saying, hey, you know, your product is too close to ours. Like that's literally happened. I'm going, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm staying in my own lane. We're focused on our own stuff. And now you're accusing me of the same thing that you did? Or it's insane. It's insane. I don't understand. And then meanwhile, those are the people, the people that are like that are always the ones that are putting themselves up there as, the ethical business person, the honest Christian. They're always the people that are putting themselves out there as the one to be emulated. And it's just it's disheartening. It is really disheartening, and I hate to see it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Hate it. And I'd like to think that we could be better than that, right? Because I feel like I've talked about it before. I feel like our products can stand on their own merit. We're going to find our customers. We're going to find our people, and they're going to love us, and the people that don't are going to go love someone else, right? And that's the authenticity and honesty is a big part of life in general. I'll circle back to that in a minute. I want to make sure I finish this stuff about business, because there's two other areas that I've struggled with in this business. One of them is charity affiliations. We haven't partnered with a charity yet, and it's I think the struggle for me has been making sure that we are partnering with the right one, that it's something authentic to me. I don't want it to appear that we are, that we have a partnership just to get more sales. I'm not trying to play on that. I want to make sure it's like in an intimate relationship, that is beneficial for the charity, rather, and that gives us a sense of purpose, rather than just make us a couple of sales because it plays on the sympathies of the people buying our product. So I'm trying to find that meaningful affiliation that we could have. And so I don't know, and I'm not saying that other people are donating, in fact, look, all money that goes to any kind of charity is probably good, right? As long as the charity is reputable. I guess it's, for me, I just have this feeling like I just want it to be right. I want it to be really right whenever we do it. So whether it's a veterans charity or like a breast cancer type charity, and we've come across a lot of them. We've come across a lot that are doing a lot of good. I just feel like I really need to. It's just a good relationship click that I'm waiting for, and so we haven't yet, but it's on our priority list for the year. I think to find that one that we really like, that we want to support, even if it's only a momentary engagement, we'll figure that out. And then the last one and this goes into just, again, it's marketing, but like the influencers, I think with our product, I'm much more interested in an actual user recommending it than paying an influencer to do it. And I know we're really hampering ourselves there, but I feel like that to me, like just paying for somebody's audience to see them using something that they wouldn't normally use themselves without me paying them. I can't. And I know people do it, right? I mean, like you see it on TV all the time. You get athletes and movie stars, on commercials for whatever product. I mean, I don't know if they use it or not. Like you have models walking around with perfume, and how else are you going to sell that stuff? I don't know. I mean, like Dove's done their normal person campaigns, and I really respect that. But I also understand that celebrity sells. I just felt with our product, I would like the people that fit with it to use it, to put it out there. And so I've always gone against, at least so far. And I'm not saying that I will never change, but so far it's just felt inauthentic to me to pay for an article or pay for a blog post or pay for any kind of representation, or an Instagram post or whatever, for somebody to use our product and put it out there as if they were using it when they're really not. I'd much rather the real user do it. But on the flip side of that, it's crazy because when our real users comment on our ads and then somebody accuses them of being a fake poster, I'm like, are you kidding me? We're so far the other direction. But I don't know. I guess it's people are suspicious, and I think that's why. And that brings me to why we need to be as ethical as possible, because people are suspicious. People are highly suspicious these days. And if you give somebody a shred of evidence that you aren't ethical, then they're going to use that to expand it everywhere, right? I mean, like, so in our situation, we had somebody that did something unethical, in our business, and we've also started seeing somebody trying to break into the back end of our website through our firewall. And so the thought in my head, like the fact that this happened within 24 hours, the thought in my head is that could that be from the same company that did this other thing? And so it could be two completely unrelated things, right? I'll probably never be able to prove one's connected to the other, and I'm not going to try. But when you do one unethical thing, it leaves you open to suspicion that you're capable of doing other unethical things or dishonest things. And so, I think we really just need to be careful. There's enough suspicion out there already. There's enough mistakes we're going to make while trying to be ethical that we can't make them, like we can't afford to be dishonest and unethical. And, sure, I guess there's a lot of people that are getting away with it, but I think it eventually catches up to you, right? I mean, there's always that person that's like, how did this ever happen to me? And you're like, well, look what you just did, right? I mean, come on. Like, look at this, the whole, when there's smoke, there's fire. Like you have this, all of these things that could possibly have bit you in the butt. So this one thing did, and you're going to say, well, how did that happen? That was one mistake I made. Well, is it really? Is it really? And again, I'm not saying that I haven't made mistakes. I'm not even saying that I haven't done anything unethical, right? Like I've done things that I've regretted in relationships, in business, in my personal life. Like everybody has. Anybody that says they haven't is being inauthentic. They're being dishonest. Everybody has done something where they're like, ah, man, that was stupid, right? But it's, like I think we have to try to steer ourselves in the direction of doing the right thing. We have to, or we're going to end up in this, I don't know, calamitous situation, I think, as a society. I mean, at what point do we figure out that we need to have guidelines and values? And I understand there's differences, like there's a difference in opinion in certain values, right? And those are arguments we can have as long as we're respectful and ethical toward each other. But we can't even have those discussions if we don't respect people. We can't, if we're lying and cheating, and like if we build up this resentment and this distrust, we can't have conversations about really solving the problems that we have right now. We'll talk about health in another episode of this, but that alone, I mean, there's corporate backed studies that tell us something's healthy when it's really not, right? God, what do you trust anymore? What do you trust anymore? We're being told, one thing from one place and something from another, and at some point, there's somebody in there that's not quite telling the truth because they have some other goal or some other thing they're trying to accomplish there, whether it's for money, power, whatever it might be. So I just think we just need to bring it back to, like, every day looking at what our values are, coming up with values for ourselves as people, and bringing those into the workplace. You got to bring those things into the workplace. It starts in small places. It starts in small places. I had somebody that hasn't contacted me in years message me and say, "Hey, I'd like to get together. I see you're a business person. I'd like to talk about how, what you're doing with other business owners." And he's a financial advisor. And that's a ploy that every financial advisor uses, right? Not every, but a lot of financial advisors use. They want to set up a relationship. They want to start a relationship with, this presumption that we're going to network with each other. But in reality, they just want to open up a conversation about what they can do for you as far as your finances are concerned. If you start the conversation, if you start the relationship being even a little dishonest, like if you don't state your intentions up front, then you are setting the wrong standard for the relationship. You can't start with dishonesty. We have to start with, like, being direct with what we want, what we have to offer, and what we want. And if we do that, everything else sort of falls into line. So what I would do, I mean, this is something that we do a lot in my business, and it's something we're now filtering into my family, is we create values for ourselves. And those go into my affirmations in the beginning of my Define My Day book. I write down, I am ethical. And I read it every day to myself, almost every day. I didn't do it this week, at least not a couple of days. But you write down, I am ethical. There's other things. I am a loving father. All the things that the things that support my values of having a responsible business, helping others, and being there for my family and having a strong, responsible family. Like, those three huge values for me are, like, everything flows into that. And I can make my decisions off of those main values. So I would ask you, what are your values? What's most important to you? And how are you living up to those values in what you do every day? I think it's an important question to ask yourself. And I don't get it perfect. I'm not perfect. You'll hear me say it a million times. I'm not perfect. But I try to get a little bit better every day. And I try to align my daily actions with where I'm going. So I would love your feedback on this. I would love to know what topic you want to talk about. I love answering other people's questions. So if you have any questions for me, criticisms, concerns, let me know. Leave a comment, and I will certainly get back to you. I hope you enjoyed this. I will be back again for another episode. In the meantime, take care. Define your life. Define your life by connecting your daily actions with where you want to go. I'll talk to you soon.